Tucker Carlson's TDS is out of control. We're used to Rachel Maddow and Keith Olbermann spewing out vitriolic nonsense about Trump. But what you're about to hear from Tucker just took a genuinely dark turn. And when you see the full picture, what's really driving this, how he's been embarrassing himself on live television, and most importantly, what the tape actually shows, you're going to be absolutely floored to find out just how much the real problem isn't Trump. It's none other than Tucker himself. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, helping you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. So you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump used to be the most powerful duo in American conservative media. Tucker's nightly Fox News broadcast, the most watched cable news program in American history, they were essentially a megaphone for the America First agenda. When Fox fired him in 2023, Trump publicly defended him. When Tucker launched his independent show, it became the most downloaded political podcast in the country. Conservative influencers were ecstatic. We've done a number of videos on this channel on how the success of Tucker post-Fox was proof that we are now the media. We don't need the gatekeepers of the legacy outlets that push establishment propaganda. Tucker was repeatedly in the White House. He was at Mar-a-Lago. He was in every practical sense the unofficial media arm of the MAGA movement. And then, February 28th, everything literally blew up. The reason? One word: Iran. When President Trump joined Israel in launching Operation Epic Fury against Iran, Tucker called the attack, quote, disgusting and evil. He went on to say that he felt personally and politically betrayed. According to Tucker, he had championed Trump for one reason above all others. Trump had promised to keep America out of foreign wars. That was the deal. That was the contract. In an absolutely explosive 18,000-word New York Times interview, Tucker said exactly that. Quote, it doesn't make me the person who breached the contract. He's the one who breached the contract. Then Tucker took the extraordinary step of issuing a public apology to his own audience for helping get Trump elected.
So looking back, because I mean, you and I and everyone else who supported him, you wrote speeches for him, I campaigned for him. I mean, we're implicated in this for sure.
Yes.
It's not enough to say, well, I changed my mind, or like, oh, this is bad, I'm out. It's like in very small ways, but in real ways, you and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now.
Yes.
So I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be. And I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people. It was not intentional.
Now, Tucker's core accusation is that Trump has been captured, okay? So he actually he's not really blaming Trump. He's able to at least partially continue to ingratiate himself with Trump supporters that way. He's not directly and explicitly blaming Trump. He's instead blaming outside influence, literally foreign influences and neocon influences of basically hijacking Trump, manipulating Trump. And so that's why Tucker's referred to Trump as, quote, a slave to Bibi Netanyahu, to wealthy pro-Israel donors, to neocon rhinos in his inner circle. In other words, he believes that the president of the United States is not acting as a sovereign commander-in-chief, but rather as a hostage to foreign interests. All right, fine. But then recently, Tucker's meltdown went from political disagreement to something genuinely darker and indeed far more sinister. On his April 16th podcast, Tucker asked his audience this about President Trump.
So to a lot of Christians or people who know the Bible well and believe in it, these predictions in both the Old and the New Testament, and there are others, seem to fit what we were watching. Here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist? Well, Who knows? At least that's my conclusion. Who knows? We're also told repeatedly in the New Testament that you're not going to know.
Now, stop right there. I mean, keep in mind that this is the same Tucker Carlson who spent years telling his audience that Trump was a providential figure, almost divinely sent to save America. So he's gone from divine intervention to the Antichrist in less than 2 months. We'll come back to what that tells us about Tucker in a moment. But then, in a sense, it got worse. Last week on Megyn Kelly's show, Tucker said this.
That we're just not good at predicting the future. You know, we imagine like this is going to happen in November in the midterms. Maybe not. Just remember that Trump turns 80 next month, you know, and I hope he has a great birthday. I don't wish Trump ill. However, he will be gone relatively soon and we'll still have this country. I don't think things are going well. I think they could be a lot worse. I can imagine other leaders who are both malicious and competent. Trump is incompetent. Gavin Newsom is not incompetent. He's far more malicious than Trump. I think he's far less transparent than Trump. Like, I don't know. We just need to keep our wits about us and not ping pong from one bad idea to another bad idea.
I mean, when your best argument against the sitting president of the United States is he's old and he'll die soon, you've not made a political argument. You've in fact made a concession. You've essentially said, I can't beat him on the merits, so I'll just wait for biology to do the work. That's not analysis. That's resignation dressed up as critique. But then it's what he goes on to say. It's essential for us not to ping pong from one bad idea to another bad idea. That ping ponging metaphor is very apt for what Tucker is himself guilty of doing. Wait until you see this. But first, when the left talks about affordability, they never seem to mention how costly excessive Biden-era regulations have been to American families. So, for example, under Biden, between 400 and 800 new rules were forced on hardworking Americans each and every year. All these excessive rules and laws placed a heavy $1.8 trillion burden on the back of hardworking Americans. Now, thankfully, Trump is changing that. Last year, his administration cut more than 600 rules and regulations. The result was over $211 billion in net savings, or about $600 per American. And he's not done yet. Next month, the SEC is officially axing something called the pattern day trader rule. It's a relic of the establishment era that's long served as a barrier to entry for building wealth in the stock market. The rule forced people to keep $25,000 in their account if they wanted to day trade. But by removing this arbitrary threshold, the Trump administration is effectively democratizing the stock market, allowing everyday Americans to manage their own capital without being sidelined by wealthy elites. So, if you've ever wanted to build wealth using the stock market, now's the time to get started, which is why I'm so excited that Mark Wilburn of Neos Capital will be hosting a free 6-day online training called the Zero to Trading Bootcamp. It's from May 18th to the 23rd. Mark is a good friend of this channel, and he's been trading for nearly 20 years. His stock picks and trainings have helped our listeners not only beat the market, but in some cases 2 and 3x the market returns. The last time Mark hosted one of these events, we had so much positive feedback from our listeners that we asked if he would do another. People like Randy, who said, quote, "The Zero to Trading Bootcamp is an amazing program. Your financial life can be forever changed." So if you're wondering what you should do to position yourself to prosper in these turbulent times, then click the link below now or go to freeturleyticket.com to reserve your spot. Tickets are normally $97, but Mark's agreed to open up registration for free for all our listeners because he wants to support patriots like you. You're going to love it. Again, it starts on May 18th. Go to freeturleyticket.com right now to reserve your spot. You're going to love it.
My view is you can kind of tell who's telling the truth. You can smell it.
You know, you've been talking on your show about whether Trump is the Antichrist.
I have not said that.
On your show, you said, could this be the Antichrist?
I actually did not say, could this be the Antichrist? Could this be the Antichrist? I don't know where that comes from, but I know that those words never left my lips.
Raised some eyebrows this week when you said that Hamas is more like a political organization than a terror group.
Hamas is a group of jihadis. They're Islamic extremists, which they also claim constantly, which I don't know if that's true, by the way. It seems more like a political organization.
I didn't say that. The future that I imagine is not a future in which we're yelling at each other about race. It's a future in which people are legitimately revolutionary, maybe even violent.
You said in our previous interview, the future that I imagine is not a future in which we're yelling at each other about race. It's a future in which people are legitimately revolutionary, maybe even violent.
I'm amazed that you have a tape of me saying that, and I just want to disavow it. A lot of young men in America, mostly white, but not exclusively, listen to Nick Fuentes really carefully. This kid is the single most influential figure among young white men, and not just white, actually.
Is that true?
Oh, it's definitely true. Of course, half the thing was about Fuentes, and who cares? Fuentes?
There was a lot of Fuentes.
Who cares about Fuentes? Talk about irrelevant.
Dare I say it, but as you could see from that montage, the real problem here isn't Trump. The real problem is Tucker. While Tucker's been going around diagnosing what's wrong with Donald Trump, there's a camera rolling. And the footage tells a very different story. He's not simply gone to war with President Trump or Israel or former allies. He's gone to war with himself, with his own recorded statements, with his own past assertions and opinions. This is not what a man with a clear conscience and a coherent worldview looks like. This is what a man in the middle of an identity crisis looks like. He's not diagnosing Trump's failures. He's projecting his own. And the tape doesn't lie.
America's supporting Israel because it's an ally.
I don't even know what those words mean. I'm just saying principle
they're
is
an ally, right? I mean, they both...
I don't know what that means to be an ally. Qatar is one of our closest allies in the world. The largest American air base in the Middle East is in Qatar. They're a close ally of ours. I come to Israel and the infrastructure, we were flying in, and I said to my buddy, I was like, man, first of all, it looks great. I love the agriculture in Israel because it's beautiful. I love green. I love plants.
I remember when it didn't look like that.
Yeah.
First time I came here 53 years ago.
It's great.
Israel, which is one of the single ugliest countries in the world. Nothing of beauty has been built there since 1948. Sorry, I've been everywhere in that country, and it's true.
Let me get to the nub of the question, since, again, a lot is at stake. A lot of money is at stake. Land is very valuable. Israel has a lot of resources. We have a huge country. This is a country the size of New Jersey with no resources. JD has been subject to, this is well known, but I'll just confirm it, nonstop treachery.
You're accusing people of treachery, so I'm wondering, who do you mean specifically?
I don't know the answer to that. I've never worked there. So if you don't work there, you can say, you can say what you think you know, but it's hard to really know. If I was telling my kids, if you think someone's lying to you, you're right.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say it, but Tucker, to my knowledge, has yet to offer any coherent, solid, insightful analysis of what's really happening in the Middle East. He hasn't. Again, to my knowledge, he hasn't attempted to understand how taking out this rogue regime with the assent of the Abraham Accords is indeed thoroughly MAGA, thoroughly America first. Instead, he's using this as an opportunity to incessantly bash Trump. And in the process, he's turned into an intellectual mess. That's why I would argue that the problem isn't Trump, the problem is Tucker. Trump knows exactly what he's doing and what's happening in the world. It's Tucker who appears to have little idea of what Trump is doing and what's really happening in the world. You see, Trump in one fell swoop is eliminating the single biggest impediment to a common Abrahamic peace and prosperity in the Middle East, while at the same time eliminating China's de facto control over the single most important energy choke point on the planet, which in turn secures the petrodollar for the foreseeable future as the dominant currency in the world and fully connects a networked multipolarity of sovereign civilizations stretching from the Western Hemisphere all the way through the Middle East, with Israel and Sunni Arab nations on the same side, through India to Japan and the Pacific, centered around American money and might, decisively making America great again on the world stage for generations to come. That is what Trump is doing. That is America first. And unfortunately, for whatever reasons, Tucker has chosen to sit this glorious moment out.